Welcome to the Worship Luthier. So today I'm going to be talking about my Albatross guitar build and specifically looking at the building of the top. Now this is a very exciting, very interesting process. I actually went out to visit Marc Maingard. He's a very world-renowned luthier that lives just up the road from us, and he was gracious enough to show me some tricks of the trade in how to get the top thickness to the right size, and also the bracing, which, as we know, that really is the heart of an acoustic guitar, how to tune the bracing. So this video is going to have a bit of footage of me and my visit to Marc Maingard, as well as the process of manufacturing this. So I hope you enjoy the video. I started with a beautiful piece of Sitka spruce and joined them along the center line. And the important thing here is to make sure that the tight grain is along the center line of your guitar. So I loaded the top onto my CNC machine and started to cut out the sound hole rosette. Here's my 6mm cutter, cutting out the material before I inlaid the rosette. The CNC machine then cut out the outer profile of the top, and because I'm inlaying the top into the sides, I had to cut it out to the exact shape, minus 1.5mm, which is the width of my inlay material. After inlaying my sound hole rosette, I sent my top material through my own thicknesser, and this clip is about the thicknessing of the top to a rough dimension. I did all the final thicknessing when I got to Marc Maingard. So we arrived at Marc Maingard's workshop, and walking into his workshop you can just see all around the evidence of a lifetime of building high quality instruments. There's templates, there's tools, there's different types of wood. It was fascinating. I showed Marc Maingard the design of my guitar by starting at the back, because this is not a traditional design, and it has an arched back and very thin sides. So here I'm showing him how I manufactured the back and sides on my CNC machine. So I showed Marc Maingard the top, and he was having a look at the rosette, and also I showed him how the top fits into the sides of the back and is recessed. He started out the thicknessing process by checking the thickness of the top as it arrived, and then we went over to his machine. Before we started the sanding, Marc had to take the old sandpaper off his drum sander because it was quite a coarse grit, and then he replaced it with a 150 grit sandpaper so that it would have the best finish. We then sent the top through the machine, and he fed it from the one side, and then I helped put it through from the other side. And every time we put it through, obviously you take off a little bit more. The machine that he has was purpose made for him by an engineering firm, and it also allows him to adjust the left and the right side to a different thickness, because he likes to make the base side of the top a little bit thinner than the treble side, so that it has more flexibility for the low end response. After we got it down to the correct dimension, Marc showed me how to feel the top stiffness by bending it over at the edges. This gives you a nice tactile feel on whether the top is responding correctly. Every piece of wood is slightly different and has slightly different characteristics and stiffness, so this is a nice way of just getting a feel for how the guitar top is going to respond. The next step in the process was to figure out the bracing pattern, and as you can see, Marc has templates that are a number of years old that he uses for his guitar builds. So because my guitar is not a standard design that he's made before, we had to figure out exactly where the X bracing should be located. Here we're measuring from the sound hole center to see where the X should be located. Once we'd figured that out, I took one of his templates and I recreated the bracing pattern for my guitar in my CAD program, and then produced my own template from there. Marc has a book that's full of useful information that he's recorded over many years of guitar building. He used to work in the Santa Cruz Guitar Company in America, and these are photographs and notes from when he used to work there and how they built the guitars. So he often refers to his notes to make sure that he remembers exactly how to build these instruments. Marc then showed me one of the templates that he had made at a guitar show, and that was very interesting because it showed me exactly what the final bracing shape would look like and what the position was, and also a little bit of the tap tone of this top. So here Marc is showing me the geometry of the braces. So that is the height and the width of the braces, the standard sizes that he uses. So you start out with a blank that's about 14 millimeters high, and then once you've glued them into position, then you'll taper them down to that final shape. So Marc showed me the stock that he uses for his bracing. He makes them in batches, and then he organizes the batches into groups by tapping them and figuring out which ones have a lower or a higher frequency. And that's part of the process of choosing where your braces are going to go into your top. So the lower frequency braces would then be fitted to the bass side of your X brace, and the high frequency braces would be fitted onto the treble side. So after arriving home, I made up my own brace blanks from some material that Marc Maingard had given to me. The first step is to cut the notch for the X braces, and here I'm using my Japanese saw to carefully cut halfway through each of the X braces and get a nice snug fit as they cross over each other. So then carrying on from there is just measuring out and cutting each of the braces to the correct length using the template that I'd made on my CAD program that I'd printed out. So here I'm putting the braces that I've cut to length into position, and as you can see, I've already glued the bridge plate into position as well as the reinforcement around the sound hole, which ended up being a mistake because Marc Maingard was a bit annoyed with me when I got back to tune the braces, as he likes to tune his tops without the reinforcement in position. So here we're back at Marc Maingard for the second trip, and he's got my top on the workbench and he's busy measuring out where all the scallops will be before we start carving away the braces to get the shape. So the next step was to start the scalloping process of the braces, where Marc used a variety of tools, including chisels and his tiny violin making planes that he has a variety of very old tools that he loves to use. Before doing this process, he obviously sharpened his chisels, showed me how to do that as well. Marc stopped from time to time and picked up the top and then did some tapping to hear how the sound was changing as we scalloped away the braces. And then he gave me an opportunity to listen as well, so that I could hear the sound changing. And as we carved away the braces, I could hear that we were getting more bass response and more sustain from the top. After returning from Marc Maingard, I sanded the braces down nice and smooth, and then fitted some binding on the edge of the top, and then glued the top into the back and sides. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. As you can see, I'm rounded off the edges as well and made the arm bevel so that it can be really comfortable. And I'm really pleased with the look of the wood and also the smoothness of the corners. This is going to be a really comfortable instrument to play. So Marc was happy with the final product, I'm pleased to say, and I just want to thank him for the time that he gave me to just show me the process and really share his wisdom with me. It was a fascinating 2 visits, and I'm looking forward to go and visit him again sometime to learn some more. There's so much we can learn from a guy who's built guitars his whole life. Over 300 instruments that he's made already in his lifetime, and he sells them all over the world. Don't forget to go and check out Marc Maingard's website, Maingard Guitars, and have a look at the wonderful instruments that he has made. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.